the implication that if you got your car fixed, your airbag fixed at someplace other than a dealership,
New car dealership.
yeah, new car, that just grinds me.
Yeah.
The implication is that only the new car dealership is capable of properly fixing your bodywork or installing the right airbag. And I would say that it just as well could happen at a dealership if you got a rogue employee.
Right, you bet. Now, that was just a mirrored of what the National Transportation Safety NHTSA, okay. What they said, you're a new car. If you had your car repaired at a new car dealership, this is not going to be a problem for you, but it absolutely could be. And I think the likelihood that it would happen at a dealership or a legitimate auto repair shop is very unlikely. I'm not buying my parts from eBay to fix my customers' cars, nor do I even look there. But that's where these guys would have to go to fix that. So I don't want to create a false sense of security because I went to the dealership. Now I'm safe. Dealerships are no different than a lot of good independent repair, In
a lot of ways, yes.
In a lot of ways. More so, we have more control in the independent world, I do feel. I'm watching right over everything that goes through on in my shop.
Well, it's a much smaller scale. I mean, if I've got a baby, why do you think they limit daycare? If I got to babysit 3 kids, you go, I don't know what the rules are in Arizona, but you have to have so many kids per teacher or whatever. You lose control.
The bigger it gets.
The bigger it gets, you lose, not control, you just don't have it all in your grasp. So what would stop a guy at a dealership from, I mean, and it could happen in the independent world as well, so I don't want to,
pick on the dealership,
paint this glossy picture and make us shiny, but the technician who's gone rogue goes, ooh, we're going to put an airbag in this whatever it is, Acura or Chrysler, whatever model, just pick one, make one up. We're going to put one in there. And you know what? I saw one of those on eBay for $80 the other day. So I'm going to buy it, and then I'm going to put that one in. I'll go sell the good one for $400.
Oh, charge the good one price, the $400 for the legitimate
Management doesn't
price.
know anything about this. This is just the guy gone wild in the back that's looking, and then he goes and sells the real one. So we're not saying that happens. My point is that
we're creating a false sense of security by saying if you had a new car repair. And the big one that was pointed out was the salvage title car. This is where I do get concerned. If you have let's say you just bought a vehicle or you're looking to buy a vehicle and it has a salvage title. Not a lot of people look at their titles when they buy these cars, but if it's a salvage title, well, that was a car that the insurance company already paid for full value to get it off the road.
Well, they deemed that it wasn't worth fixing. Financially, it just didn't make sense for them to fix that car, or the car was so badly damaged. So what will happen is those will go to an auction and get sold as salvage or restored title or something like that. Well, typically they're supposed to just go to the salvage yard, recycling yard, and they get cut up in various parts. They're still very good on those cars, fenders and things that weren't damaged. But
a lot of people restore them and put them back out on the road.
Yeah.
And they sell them with the salvage title. And that's one where I think you got to be concerned. Because if I'm doing a salvage title repair, maybe I'm an entrepreneurialistic body guy and I'm doing this little repair on the side, I may not know better. I may pick something up on eBay. Say, why not use this one? Airbags are very, very expensive.
Or you may know better because common sense tells you that if airbag from the manufacturer is $300 or $400, an airbag off eBay is $80 brand new in the box.
Right.
Come on, man.
There's got to be
a little bit.
There's got to be something different. But I have seen a lot of corners cut when I see salvage cars, especially when we do pre-purchase inspections. They bring it in, and we're looking at it. And we can see the damage that was done that was fixed. I mean, literally have seen this one, guy that I knew that did salvage repairs. He would go buy the back half of a Chevrolet Suburban and go buy the front half of a Chevrolet Suburban and literally weld the thing down the middle. I mean, it was impressive what he could do, but do you feel safe? Is it going to get the good airbag? When airbags go off, you got side curtain airbags now, you got airbags in the steering wheel now. It's a big deal. We put a video up on our Facebook page, Bumper to Bumper Radio Facebook, and take a minute and watch this video as far as these airbags. It's not just a matter of they're counterfeit. I mean, these are dangerous.
Well, some of them just simply don't inflate. And then some of them look like someone's holding a 12-gauge shotgun down the steering column. You get a blast. I mean, it's scary.
Right.
So, but also that we put the NHTSA link on the Facebook page as well, And there is a list of cars where they found that these airbags were being sold, and they appear to be mostly imports. There's a couple Ford, and there's a Ford model in there, but there's Acura, Audi, BMW, Honda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Subaru, just Toyota. There's a lot of them. And so you got to, if you had an accident in the last 3 to 4 years, I did talk to Kevin at I-17 Collision. He's one of our bumper-to-bumper shops and body shops. And I asked him, Kevin, how do you put your customers in the comfort zone, or what do you do? What happens? I said, would it be unreasonable for your customer to call and say, Kevin, I see all this stuff. I'm just uncomfortable. I trust you. Can I have a copy of the receipt? Can I get a written statement? He said, absolutely. He would encourage you to call your body shop and ask them, you had the car repaired. What assurance can you give me that this was an original equipment, factory manufactured airbag? Can I get a copy of the receipt?
And a good shop can provide that for you. We can track that down, where we paid for it, what connects it to your car, and that's not a big deal. It's done relatively quickly. Yeah,
depending. I mean, we box our stuff up after we have a rotation of our paperwork inventory, if you will.
I just make my vendors do it so I don't have to.
Well, that's
so here's the PO and go tell me what I bought.
Yeah, exactly. We log all that stuff, so that's not unreasonable. And check your title though. If you bought a used car that doesn't look right, or maybe has a salvage title or a restored title, maybe take a look at it and see. That might be another way. Now, Dave, we said, what would an airbag inspection cost? Man,
could be an hour.
The easiest one's the steering wheel airbag. Take that on and off and just look. I don't even know necessarily how you would know if it was counterfeit. I'd hate to
even know.
Well, I'd hate to say, oh yeah, your airbag's good, and then you go pull out and get hit, and then you get a shotgun blast to the face.
I'm gonna go home and buy one off eBay. I'll spend $80, and I'll see what kind of logo and emblem it has on it, if they're still even available, or they've all been brought in.
Well, yeah, it's just you just don't know. It's something that, and that's why we talk about having a good relationship with the shop, sticking with them, using reputable people.
Yeah, not cheap isn't always inexpensive, especially when you're looking at these bad airbags. Let's go with Pat in Chandler on a 2013 Buick Lacrosse. Go ahead, Pat. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, Dave and Matt. I listen to your show all the time. I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was in a little minor fender dender, a little bit more than minor. It's going to need some body shop repair. I spoke to your guys at Phoenix Body Shop. They're awesome. I just want to tell you that, because they tell me the insurance people, they don't let you know that you have to have one of their estimates before you go to a body shop, because if you don't, then you have to wait 3 or 4 more days. And if you use their own approved shops, insurance approved shops, they can use any aftermarket parts they feel like.
Well, yeah, I mean, thanks for the call, Pat. And that's I don't want to say there's some truth to that. On a 2013, you're going to get
all original
You're
parts.
going to get new stuff.
The aftermarket's not there yet.
For sure. And even if it was there, it's such a new car. But that's one thing. Your insurance company is not going to buy you necessarily original equipment parts after that car is about 3 years old. It's not going to happen. So we talked about this. Kevin from I-17, and we've got First Class Auto Body, Dave Lingram as well. We've talked about what kind of used parts are okay. Fenders. I'd rather have a used fender off a 2-year-old Toyota than a brand new aftermarket one. So, the body shop world can be a little because there's the third party. It's not just you in the body shop; it's now the insurance company. So that sometimes get cumbersome and takes time, and there's original estimates, and you see more damage. So the body.
Well, she hit on a good topic that we should bring up. Now, the insurance company is going to give you a list of approved body shops that you can go to, and you can actually go anywhere you want. You don't necessarily have to go to. Hey, they're going to say, hey, you should go here, here, and here. You know what? If you're looking for a good body shop, bumpertobumperradio.com, you don't have to go where they're sending you, because that body shop is networked with them. So they've kind of negotiated a special price and a special deal.
And that's not always bad, though.
Not always bad.
That's,
But it may not be the body shop that you want to go to. So do your homework, pick the body shop that you want. Don't feel like you're forced to take the one they're giving you.
Yeah, it's truly is. It's your choice, and you can go over wherever you want to get the car fixed. So ask questions, get a relationship, stop in. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You've either had an accident at some point or you're going to have an accident.
It's inevitable, right? Whether it's going to be a fender bender or something like that. So, and you want to get the car fixed right. You don't have problems down the road because anyone cut corners. So we never really got to talking about degrees of quality, but when it comes to auto body, you want it done right so it doesn't cause you issues down the road. Well, up first this segment, let's go with Matt in Phoenix on a oil leak question. Go ahead, Matt. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
I'm an experienced off-roader, and I've been driving Nissans for about 20 years now. But their market's dried up quite a bit with the economy, so it's hard to get parts. So I'm switching over to Jeep. Not very familiar with Jeeps. I'm just starting to get more accustomed to them and looking to build one up. But every Jeep that I'm looking at out there from about 97 to 2001 kind of range Cherokees, they all seem to have some sort of fluid leaks underneath. And I just don't know if this is a chronic problem with the Jeeps, that they all seem to be leaking these fluids, or there's something else going on perhaps that I'm just not aware of maybe.
No, I mean, that's actually a pretty good vehicle. It's the 4-liter straight six. It's been around forever. They are notorious valve cover leakers and notorious rear main seal leakers. And for whatever reason, Chrysler never went to the one-piece rear main seal on that block. So rear main seals are regular. The transmission that's in there is an Asian Warner transmission. They're absolutely fantastic. But I don't see it as a leaker where you're going to be chasing leaks forever. I mean, it is a Jeep. It's going to be a valve cover leak. It's going to be a rear main seal leak.
Well, in some of the earlier 4-liters, there was tons of or it was the 258 before they really called it the 4-liter. Right. There was valve cover updates. You couldn't get really a valve cover gasket. It was part of the valve cover.
They were crummy back in that day. They were plastic.
But the thing that people also need to remember, whether it's a Jeep or a Nissan, Acura, Audi, I don't care, you name it, fixing the oil leak, that's fixing the symptom. Sometimes that's just from a dry, hardened rubber gasket or failed part or something. But you can't forget the PCV system. PCV is positive crankcase ventilation. You can't have crankcase pressure. We use the engine to suck the pressure out of the crankcase and take the fumes and reburn those oil vapors and stuff. But if that system isn't working right, that crankcase is going to build pressure and it's going to blow out the seal. So
PCV valves are cheap, but is there a quick way to check it? Can you look to see if there's air coming out of the oil cap when you take it off?
Well, yeah, if you pull the oil cap and it just blah, 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 and you can feel air pressure coming out, the PCV is probably not working. But now on late model cars, it's just not this $1.98 PCV valve. Sometimes they call them a crankcase. They have a flame trap, or they have this big plastic. It's even a plastic housing, sometimes stuffed with steel wool type of thing, like a metal wad of stuff in there, and that's the filter. So it's not always an easy check, but that's something that you need to make sure is working when you do have your oil leaks fixed. So good luck hunting for your future rock crawler and off-roader, Matt. And
well, let's go with Peter in Phoenix on a 2000 Toyota Tundra. Go ahead, Peter. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, fellas. I have a question here of maybe, buyer beware, consumer beware. I had the Toyota Tundra. I had a sensor go off, and I felt that the timing belt broke. So the boss said, not another weekend of fixing the car. Why don't you call the dealership, have them fix it? So I called Toyota, said, hey, how much would it cost to replace the timing belt? $517. Have it towed in. I'm there with the truck. They said, oh, by the way, since you're here, you should probably replace the water pump. That's going to cost you another $350. You're up to $850, $900. Call it $1,000. They said, we'll do an investigation. We'll make sure it's broke and see if we can fix it. Call me the next day. Said, oh, we have bad news. There's no compression in the cylinder. You're going to have to replace the engine. I said, fellas, what are we looking at here? And they said $6,000. We went from $500 to $1,000. Now we're at $6,000.
Did they say the timing belt was broken, or was it not broken?
The timing belt was broken, and they said the mechanic reported. You're dealing with the service rep, right? So they call and said, "Hey, I got bad news for you. There's no compression in any of the cylinders." I said that I find that hard to believe. It cranks over. There's no noise. I've replaced timing belts, but this time I said, you know what, I'll have the dealership fix it. It's not unreasonable. I started, remember, at $517. So now they're telling me the engine shot. I was like, are you kidding me? And they're like, no, it's, we can replace it with a used engine. It's only going to cost you $6,000. And oh, by the way, is this your only vehicle? I was like, no, it's not my only vehicle. And so I said, don't do anything. I'll have it hauled out of there. So I did. I have a friend that's a mechanic, and he said, you know what, I'll fix it.
Right.
He goes,
this is not an unusual story, and I hear a lot of things, in here. And the buyer beware, the consumer beware, but it's the consumer's got to stand in the mirror sometimes. And I don't want to beat you up and warn yourself, because you called and asked for how much for a timing belt, and we really didn't even know if that was the problem. You sound very mechanically inclined and probably had a good sense that that's what it was. But then I'm a little troubled that the dealer, there's a lot of things that they said, $599. That's the classic low ball. Get you in the door. They know darn well that you should replace the water pump. Yep. They know darn well you should replace the tensioner. So that's lead them in with a low price. That's why you can get
phone
me. I'm going to get fired
not,
up now. Because
phone pricing is not worthwhile.
It doesn't work for you. And they're the experts. They're the dealer, right?
Right.
I mean,
they're the best.
And shouldn't they know that was a valve crasher if it was? And when I say valve crasher, that's what we call an interference engine. The valves and the pistons and the crankshaft, everything is in time and synchronized with that belt. And when the belt breaks, the valves stop moving, the pistons continue moving, you have a collision inside the engine. You don't hear that, you don't know it after the fact. So cranking over the engine doesn't, isn't going to tell you much other than that the timing belt's broken. But so it's not unreasonable. I just don't like the tactic or the way, the approach. I don't want to call it tactic,
right?
But the approach.
But I think that's a problem where we go in and we say we want this, we want a timing belt, we want this. That's where as a consumer, and this gentleman was a pretty handy do-it-yourselfer, so he knows a lot of what he's looking for. But as you're a consumer, you may talk to somebody who knows a lot of what they're doing, and they may say, "Yeah, just get a price on a timing belt." That's where you have to let the technician be the technician. If you just want to take it in, say my car it's broken, tow it in. They tell me what's wrong with it. That way, so you steer the whole relationship toward a timing belt. Now, if somebody had an engine that wasn't running and they brought it to me, I'd say, well, the timing belt broke. This is an interference motor, so we may be able to put the timing belt in there, but the engine itself may have further issues. So I think the relationship started wrong.
Yeah, and there's some testing that we can do with we can do a leak down test where we put each cylinder in top dead center. We don't even really have to do it on each one necessarily. Maybe you'll find the one, but put it on top dead center, make sure the valves are closed, pressurize the cylinder. There should be very, very little leakage. But sometimes to do that on that V6,
take quite a bit of time.
That's a lot. So in some cases, it's not a bad idea if the conversation went, hey, Peter, this may, these usually bend the valves, but, if you broke it idle or starting, maybe you got lucky and it didn't. Let's pull this thing apart. We're going to put a belt on it and see if it runs. If it doesn't run, you're going to probably need an engine or a valve job or something like that. If it does run, then we're going to want to pull that belt back off and finish doing the job the right way.
Fixing the heads or
whatever. When people call on Price Shop, I tell them all the time, I'd rather tell you a little higher and lose the job or lose the opportunity to have you as a customer than lowball you in with some fantasy price and then change the story and then have you angry. Because
why are you red, man? I don't. Well, thanks for the call. You got Matt all fired up. So we're going to go with Jose in Phoenix on a 2005 Neon. Go ahead, Jose. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yes, hi, guys. How are you? I commend you. You have a fantastic show, keeping the consumers informed all the way through and through. So that's a very wonderful thing. I have a little problem. I took my car to Bill Luke and thinking, well, like you said, they're the experts. I had a leak underneath on the passenger side of the engine. It looks like it's water mixed with some kind of fluid. It doesn't look quite oily. It's kind of yellowish. And I thought at first it might be like engine coolant, but when I took it over to them, they tell me that it's an AC hose. And something would seem kind of odd because I've never had any AC problems at all. So they told me that I need some AC maintenance and all this other stuff. It seemed like they were steering things in a complete different direction from what I was thinking, but I didn't say anything. So $1,000 later, I take the car back home. Dealt with a couple guys there. The mechanic took me into their tech took me into the shop there, showed me underneath the car, but then he said he couldn't figure out. He thought that was where the leak was coming from, but he couldn't figure it out. So I thought, well, I hope the leak got taken care of because I just paid about $1,000. So we leave from there, and as I'm on my way out, the other guy, the guy that does the servicing.
Hey, Jose. In the interest of time, we chatted for a second because you were on hold for a long time during the break. So I want to cut to the chase a little bit here. So you had the AC work done, and then some time elapsed, not very much time, and you still have the same leak, and you went back, right? And then the shop said, "Oh, you have to pay to have it rechecked again." That's why I understood. Is that correct?
Yes, I have to get it rechecked,
okay.
and they're saying that I would have to pay again, and this time they threw in the timing belt, which is like $576 more.
Okay. Well, here. A couple things go there. Just in the future, for anybody that wants to call in, let's try to leave the names out of it unless you have something really positive to say about somebody. We don't want to, it's like these reviews out there online.
They're one-sided.
They're one-sided, so we don't want to be beating up on somebody that doesn't deserve it. So, a couple things there. The air conditioning can leak. It's going to leak gas or it could leak oil, depending on the system, where in the system that leaks. And we put dye in those, so they put dye in them so that we can see that. But that dye is also green, and that will drip out and look like coolant.
I think, Jose, that if you go back to the dealer, the dealership that you're working with, ask them to show you the repair that was already done, and then ask them to show you the repair that needs to be done, and see if.
Well, that's the problem, though, Dave. They don't know what the repair is. Jose had the car fixed, or thought he had the car fixed. I have a leak, and that's another problem. Leaks, noises, those are very subjective at times. So I have a leak, and they say, this is going to fix your leak. He pays. Now he has the same leak, and now they want to charge him again to recheck that same leak that they allegedly fixed. They are, in my book, they are obligated, I think, in this case, to reinspect your car and let you know, that they have to reinspect it first of all to make sure what they fixed isn't leaking again.
Absolutely.
And then, since it's the same thing or the same symptom for you, probably something different, but the same symptom, there's something on the ground is all we know. They need to do that for you. That's what this relationship is about.
Yeah, and and that's what it comes down to is relationship. And if you can have that relationship, you don't have to have these conversations. Well, you're going to have to pay us to check it out again. No, you're just rechecking the work you already did. Make sure we were accurate, make sure everything's good. But I hate that when someone has to pull their wallet out again for a repair.
And sometimes it's warranted. I mean,
there is times, but and if it's something we did, by absolutely all means, we'll take care of it. If it's something we didn't, well, then there will be a charge.
And we're going to show you that.
And how and why they're different. So I would keep working with them until you get it resolved. So anyway, let's go with Rachel in Phoenix on a 2004 Cadillac. Go ahead, Rachel. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yes. My DTS has a trouble light that keeps saying service stability system. And when it started happening about 4 years ago, I took it to the dealership, and they said that it was normal. It was nothing to worry about. It was one of the tire air pressure things. But I've had all my tires replaced since then and everything, and it still happens.
Is there any other light on that says other than the one that says service stability control?
No. And sometimes when I'm driving down the freeway and I'll have it in cruise control, it'll kick out of cruise control and apply the brakes.
Well, okay, what's happening there? And I don't know the Cadillac model for sure, but Dave, did you send out an announcement on how people can push my buttons today? The dealership said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's probably just one of those silly tire things."
Right.
Why did the government? Well, the government does a lot of dumb things too, but why did they mandate to put these on the car? Well, because of problems. Why did the manufacturer spend millions of dollars R&D in?
People were dying.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. God, it's just another thing.
Warning lights are warning lights. I mean, you need to pay attention to them. And because a light comes on, people will tell you, don't worry about it, or just blow it off. There's a reason that light came on, and there's an answer to why that light came on. So I get that a lot with the gas cap one. People got a light on. The shop may scan it, and it's an evap code. And it's probably just a gas cap thing. Don't worry about it,
So dumb.
There's last show I said there's 250 different reasons why that check engine light can come on. Maybe there's 300. I don't know. But it doesn't differentiate. It doesn't discriminate. It just comes on. And there's a reason it came on, and we need to address it so that we know when there is a real problem that, the thing's not just crying wolf.
Well, Rachel, you should have it fixed. And what that stability control system is, it helps you drive the car in a panic situation, maybe on a slippery road in ice, or you have to swerve and it just happens to be wet and you stomp on the brakes. The car is relying on all kinds of information: steering angle input, wheel speed sensor. There's a yaw sensor, and that's not the Texas yaw; it's the yaw the other way. And based on all that input, if this car is sliding, the car, with the exception of the steering, will take control of that vehicle. It may accelerate the car. It may apply the brake to one wheel. There's a strategy computed into that program that is going to help you recover control of that car. It's absolutely important.
For sure. Well, good question. Let's go with Gina in Scottsdale on a 91 Toyota. Go ahead, Gina. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Dave.
Hey.
I had a engine light come on in my truck, checked everything, parked it. The radiator cap blew. So we replaced that. Everything looked good. Now my AC compressor seems to have gone out. So with it being a 91, no one seems to be able to tell me with the AC compressor going out, I get that. But that engine light, I cannot find a place that can tell me what this engine light means. Can you guys steer me in the right direction?
Gina, today is your lucky day.
Yay.
Yes, absolutely. First, bumpertobumperradio.com is a good resource. But Air Park Auto Service in the Air Park, Nadine Grobmeyer, she owns that shop. I think it's there's a handful of female-owned shops in the valley, and some people make a big deal out of that. It's neat. She runs the program over there, but that would be a good resource. They're in the Air Park. They've been there a long time. Great shop. They can fix anything that you need to have fixed on that car. So the air conditioning compressor going out could have created an overheating issue at the time. I don't know what the radiator cap necessarily had to do.
If the two are related or not.
Yeah, but there are a couple of things you said. We checked everything was okay. I don't really know what that means, and nobody, because I don't know who that is. Clearly, you haven't been to Air Park Auto Service,
right?
So.
We get a lot of these phone calls, and people are saying, they said, don't worry about it, not a big deal, or we can't figure it out. I don't think there's anything on the car that we can't figure out. Have you ever run into one, Matt?
Yeah, got one in the shop right now, but
we won't talk about his problems on air, but
no, I mean, there's a difference between I can't figure it out or
I don't want to figure it out,
or I can't figure this out, but I'm not going to lose, and I'm going to figure this thing out. And at some point, I've got this Audi at the shop that's just it's like the bus is parked on top of us. I'm not going to lose. I want, it's not like we're charging the customer at this point. This is more of an ego thing.
This is a pride thing, right?
Or we want to prove to ourselves that we can fix it so we know for the next time it won't take 13 hours of diagnosis that some people do for free, allegedly.
Right.
So